Okay, fifth grade. I watched my lesson. I know I'm looking at quadrilateral hierarchy, meaning how we classify shapes. And I know I'm going to read the directions first. Use the flowchart to help you classify each shape as a certain type of quadrilateral. Make sure you evaluate the shape's characteristics and use complete sentences to explain your reasoning. So I know I'm going to use my quadrilateral flowchart. I know I'm going to look at the characteristics of the shape. I'm going to explain my reasoning. So I remember my flowchart. We learned about it in lesson. I know it's a square if it has 4 sides of equal length and 4 right angles, meaning perfect points. These right here are right angles. In fact, this right here is a right angle. Over here is a right angle. Even these little boxes in here have right angles. It's not right if it looks like this or like this, but these are right angles right here. Okay, I know it's a rectangle if it has 4, if it does not have 4 sides that are equal, but it does have right angles. Okay, I'm going to use this chart to continue to look at my different characteristics. So let's type in my name. My name is Miss Oliver. What's one important thing you learned today? I learned how to classify quadrilaterals by evaluating or looking at, each shape's characteristics. Good Lord, there we go. I can type. Okay, so we have our first shape below. I notice right away that the lengths are different sizes. So I can already cross off a rhombus and a square because they need equal sizes. So that means that shape could be a rectangle, a parallelogram, or a trapezoid. All right, so we know we're not a rectangle, or no, we know we could be a rectangle. I apologize. We knew we can't be a square or a rhombus. Okay. It doesn't have right angles because all the angles look like this or like this. None of them look like that. So I know it can't be a rectangle because we have no right angles, which means this shape is a parallelogram or a trapezoid. Now, I know to be a trapezoid, it needs 1 pair of parallel lines. And to be a parallelogram, it needs 2 pairs of parallel lines. So let's check. Let's see, if I extend this top line on, if I extend the bottom line on, that's parallel. They're never going to meet each other. So it could be either. However, if I extend this line down and this line down, they touched, they intersect. So I know that this shape has to be a trapezoid because it only has 1 set of parallel lines. Now, the next question tells me, why did you classify the shape that way? And I'm going to use my complete sentences. This shape is a trapezoid because it has no right angles, does not have equal length sides, and has only 1 set of parallel lines. That is what makes it a trapezoid. Okay, so let's look at this next shape. How would you classify this shape? Ooh, this is hard. We would call this a diamond if we were playing cards. Now, right away, I can already cross off rectangle and square. And I can do this because of the angles again. None of the angles are right. Now, let's look at parallel lines. I'm going to do this in a different color. If I extend this line and its opposite side on, they're parallel. They will never touch. Now if I extend this line and this line on, they also are parallel. They will never touch. So I have 2 sets of parallel lines, which means that this shape cannot be a trapezoid, because we just learned from this example you only have one set for a trapezoid. So this is either going to be a rhombus or a parallelogram. Now let's look back up here. Let's look at that difference between a rhombus and a parallelogram. I know that they're super similar. Okay? I know that they don't have right angles. I know that they do have two sets of parallel sides. Now we have to look at the side length and ask yourselves, are the sides equal in length? If yes, they're a rhombus. If they're not, it's a parallelogram. So let's look. Honestly, this is pretty hard. I'm going to erase this so I can see it a little bit better. I'm going to put back in the fact that it can't be a rectangle or a trapezoid. The lines look pretty even to me. They all look to be equal in length. So I'm going to cross off parallelogram and I'm going to put a rhombus. But this is a hard one to look at and really judge. So if you put a parallelogram, that too works, as long as you defended your response. Now, our final question is this. How would you classify this shape and why? Already I see that the sides are equal in length. So I can cross off so many different types of shape. I can cross off a square because it needs equal length. I can cross off a rhombus because it needs equal length. So it can either be a rectangle, oh, I'm sorry guys, I made a mistake. That shape does have equal length. They're all 17 centimeters, which means it has to be a square because it does have equal length, so it can't be a rectangle. It has to be a rhombus because those have equal length and it can't be a parallelogram. And trapezoids don't have sides that are equal length. So it either is a rhombus or a square. Now, the difference between them is our right angles. So I really just have to look right now. If it has a right angle, it's a square. If it doesn't have right angles, it's a rhombus. So let's see. Looking at my angles, do they look like this? Like a perfect little bookshelf you can put things on? No. Some of them look like this. Some of them look like that. So this is not going to be a square, which means it is a rhombus. So I'm going to type in my response. This shape can be classified as a rhombus because it has equal length sides, two sets of parallel lines, and does not have right angles. Finally, I'm going to put my level. I think I used complete sentences and justified my reasoning behind the classification, and I did point evidence. My evidence was my characteristics. And if I have any other questions, maybe you know what's really tricky for me? How can I tell the difference between a rhombus and a parallelogram? And I'm going to spell check, and then I'm going to submit.